Hey, welcome back to Diode Press, I'm Graham. So in the last video we finished printing our image from the first block, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. And I think if we were going to do just a single block print, we could go ahead and print the full edition and sign it and all that stuff. But I think we're going to go one step further for this project and print a second block. So now we have the exact line work on this block that matches the other block, so that way when we print it, everything will line up. So now we need to decide what I need to leave on this block. So all I'm going to leave is really going to be the two planes. So all the rest of this material I can go ahead and just carve away. The ink is still a little bit wet on the block, it hasn't quite dried, so I think I'm going to use a marker and draw in the outline of what I want to keep. That way if it smudges off while I'm carving, it's not a big deal. And I know I want these to be like solid fields of color. I'm not going to carve anything on the inside of them. So I can just basically outline my shape here. And I'm drawing right on top of that black line from the main block, or called the key block. And after I do a print, I might be able to go in and clean up some of this outer edging if the green block is showing through. But I'd rather have extra now than risk, taking away too much in the beginning. So now I know I have to save. And it's a bit of a waste on this block. I'm going to have to get rid of all this material. But I think it'll be okay. I could have done the same thing for the second block using a woodcut or maybe a smaller piece of linoleum. But I have two of these on hand, so I'll just go ahead and use it for this project. So now I think I'll just go through and use a V-gouge and just go on the outline of my whole shape here and carve a line around what I'm going to keep. And then I can just use the U-gouges and clear out the rest of the material. So that shouldn't be too much work, because I can use some of the bigger tools and clear out the areas pretty quick. And since I'm clearing out all this area, I don't really have to worry about making perfectly straight lines, because the outer edge of this, what's going to be green, will be hidden underneath the black line work. Because we're going to print the green block first, and then come back and print the black block on top. So as long as the green is underneath these black lines, you're not going to see if it's exactly on the line. You want to leave a little bit of an overlap so you don't have to be exactly registered. So that's one plane done and one more to go. Alright, so now they're both done. I can go ahead and go to town clearing out the background. I think I'll just use this largest V-gouge I have here. And the bench hook really comes in handy for things like this, because I can really just put a lot of pressure and just lean into the tool and make quick work of a big area like this. And if you wanted, when you were carving, you could leave like a runner of linoleum, so then when you ink up your block, it has something to roll against, that you can put a piece of tape or something on so it doesn't actually put ink down. You can peel up the tape and take the ink off so the roller goes real flat. But my brayer is so small, I'm going to have issues anyways, so I'm just going to try to be careful when I do it. Alright, so I think we're just about done carving this block. Now I can go ahead and run a print of it and see how it looks. Make sure I got all the background cleaned up enough, and all these little edges and bits, make sure they're all cleaned out so I have a nice clean image. I'll probably go along this edge one more time, just like on the first block, to make sure the habit of not getting the edge enough, and it picks up ink, marks up the paper. Maybe I'll clean off some of this ink now, just so when I ink it up with a different color, I can kind of see what's going on. And again, I'm just using this Turpenoid Natural, and this is the oil-based ink is what was on here, and it picks it right up. It's definitely a little bit more scrubbing than you need with like more of like a solvent, but it's worth it not to have to deal with the fumes and all the side effects of using solvents like that. Even just from wiping the ink down, I can see already there's a little bit of a shadow along the outline where I didn't quite carve enough. So maybe I'll just clean that up a little bit first. So now we have our first block carved, and then our second block. So So what I'm going to do is just print them one on top of the other on a piece of just this white printer paper. And I don't care about the colors right now, I just want to make sure that they're lined up and I've carved out enough material and everything's looking good. And then when we print the final edition, we can worry about the exact colors we're going to use for these. So normally I'd print the green block, that I'm going to use for the plants first, and then this black block on top of it. So that way the green is kind of hidden behind all the black. But to make sure it's lined up okay, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to print the black block so it's like this, and then print this block on top of it. And then I'll be able to see exactly where it overlaps. So I'll print this one first using just this sepia ink. It's pretty cold here, so the ink's kind of a little bit thick. Get it warmed up a little bit. So I can slide it into my registration jig and line up my paper. And I'll just print it again how I've been doing in the previous videos. It doesn't have to be perfect, I'm just really worried about the plants in the potter. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So now I'll do the same process using a different ink. So I'll just use this Prussian blue. I think it's time for a new brayer. This one's a little bit warped. It's not giving a very flat roll up. I can ink up this block. I'll just go a couple different directions so I don't roll off the block. And with kind of flat areas like this, it's really easy to get marks where the roller stops and starts, or if the edge of the roller goes across it. If you have a line, you go across this way, you can see a pretty clear definition. So when you ink it, you just want to keep that in mind. Usually I'll just do kind of a cleanup pass after I'm happy with the inking to make sure it's all smooth and covered. All right, slide this one in. Make sure it's locked in there. Make sure the image is the right direction. Line up, lay it down. You just want to make sure you hold the paper down so when you're rubbing on the back of the paper, you don't slide it around. It doesn't take much to slide it and get a double impression or just not look that great. All right, let's see how that looks. All right, see how it looks. All right, obviously awful color selection here, but it's just part of the process that I go through to make sure it all lines up. What I was really concerned about is if I carve away too much, you would see white showing through on the inside of some of these plants. But as it stands, I think I'm okay. I don't see any areas where it's cutting in. If anything, along this leaf right here, I can carve away a little bit of the leaf block. But all the rest of it, maybe a tiny bit here, looks like it's within the boundary of the black. Maybe a tiny bit in this corner, there might be a little bit of white showing through. But that also could have been how I inked it. Might have not burnished that little corner. Alright, so now we have both of our blocks carved and ready to print. So in the next video, we're going to start picking out our colors and print our image. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the videos when they're posted, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to help support this channel, you can check out the Diode Press Patreon page, where I post behind the scenes photos, as well as other patron rewards. Thanks!